Hello and welcome to Kate's latest YouTube tutorial on how to onboard a property with Asana. This video series is specifically geared towards Asana onboarding. Today, we are starting with Peter, the man, the myth, the legend, who is in charge of all business development. Peter takes the sales pipeline and turns a lead into a closed deal. Peter, take it away. Peter, you're muted.
Damn it. That was my one chance. That was my one chance. There's a backstory with all of this as well. There's a backstory. Yes, I am 50 years old and automation is still something new to me.
Okay.
So yeah, seriously, going in and looking at this, we've evolved this process over time. I'm sure it will continue to evolve. But the most important thing is that we use the system, because if the more people that use it, the more value that the actual platform will have. So first, Kate is on the Asana board and she's going to look inside the onboarding. Now, I would just quickly throw out there that the onboarding is the area that you can go and look in one fell swoop, see where a property is and its progress through the different phases of coming in to get into the network and actually be a home or a property that someone could use. Go ahead and click that sales. The sales side.
On the main onboarding, I do just want to interject, Peter, the onboarding correlates to each of these individual director level projects. Peter's show up in the pre-sale and the sales.
Right. And so let me just real quickly, let me just talk about the pre-sale versus a sale. Okay, so if you go back there to onboarding, pre-sale is I start to see a property that could potentially, and I feel like there's a good chance that it will come on board eventually. And I'll tell you, sometimes it can take months, right? Because we're at the mercy of the property owner in some cases. So if I'll go ahead and I will build that out. And what it does is it starts to give people visibility that this property potentially is going to come into this market. So I use the naming conventions, everything. And then if anybody chooses to, they can kind of look at the property as a prelude as to what is to come. So when the contract is signed, I move it from pre-sales. I will actually physically drag it down into the sales, indicating that it is a done deal. We have a signed contract. And we are obligated and bound to provide services there. Okay. All right.
Obligated and bound.
Yes.
So heads up, people coming in. Obligated and bound to serve.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So now, I really think through like what we were just looking at is really where the properties sit, and then on the sales side, where we're at right now. I think as a sales guy, I think in terms of people. Right? Relationships, building the relationships, and these people have the properties. So when we're looking to onboard someone, it all starts off with, that first initial contact, right? So you'll see the one block in there is labeled generator. And yep, that's that block right there. And that essentially just kind of acts as kind of a warning order that someone has contacted us, or that there is interest that they would like to speak with someone. Okay, now 9 times out of 10, that is an email that goes into our website, and Kate Dunn is our marketing gal that receives those, and she will come in here and actually enter in the initial information. So Kate, I don't know if you want me to kind of walk through how that is how those are physically added, but I could just kind of quickly summarize and we can kind of go in there, or we could talk through this real quick.
If you will, Peter, just for a second. So we have right now, and positions are bound to change too. So we have our generator or marketing, and this is who's bringing in the leads, wherever they may come from, and inputting them into the CRM for something digestible to the hunter. The hunter qualifies the leads, meaning will we work good with them? Will they work good with us? Then the closer is closing those leads, getting the contract signed, onboarding them, doing all of the administrative paperwork. And then the cultivator is the person who is taking care of those managed clients and making sure that those managed clients who have money are making more money to reinvest that money into the company. So
Yep.
that's just a visual for that. And we can go back to our practical exercise of onboarding homey homes.
Homey homes. Okay.
Homey homes.
So we have a client that's reached out. Yeah, we've had
walk me through this. Homey Homes, Caitlin Homey.
Yep.
Kate.
So Kate Dunn has got an email from this Kate Homey gal that's got about $5 million. So Kate gets in here, she clicks on add new and client, and then it generates that, and she's simply going to add the person's name. Okay. Now that's great, but I need some additional information in there. 9 times out of 10, Kate Dunn is not going to know all of the information, but if you click on that and open that up, really what I am looking for is down, if you go down to right there, I need that email.
This is where marketing comes in and puts the same stuff. So we're going to put my email, Kate at Patriot, blah, blah, blah. Phone number, 123-456.
Yep. 7. And then if the information is available, it's just kind of that next line there, investment type. In this case, Kate is what we would classify as a portfolio investor. Maybe she's a 1031 exchange, but portfolio investment indicates to me that this is more than just one home that they're looking to invest in. And then generally down in that part, there'll be an email, and what Kate Dunn will do is she will cut and paste kind of the dialogue that was in that email into this. And so that essentially gives me a little bit of a background. Now, what I would also add at this point is the more that I know about this person before I have to reach out to them, the better off we are, because it allows me to establish that rapport. It helps me help them get to where they need to be further and figure out, how we're going to match up. Now, as you look here, the other information that I'd like to know up front is like, how much money do they have to invest? And we also want to record, where did we find this lead? Was it a referral? Was it from the website? So on and so forth. And then again, well, actually, this would be portfolio. So if you go back down to that, Kate, because we actually have retail and then portfolio up right there. And just to distinguish between the two, a portfolio investor is someone who has 1.5 million in cash that they could leverage up to maybe 3, maybe 4, 5 million. And a retail investor is simply someone that has, maybe $100,000 in cash. And
so under 1.5 million.
General, yes.
Okay, well, let me change the prompt then, because I will make myself
1.5. Yeah.
More profit. Let's just do 2 up to 8.
Yeah.
And then also, what is the client status? It shows hot. If you scroll up, is that they're ready to invest?
Yeah, great. So that is generally, I will adjust that. Yeah, I will adjust that after I have that initial conversation, and I can gauge how quickly a client is ready to move based upon that initial conversation. If they come in and they say, hey, we're just thinking about this, we're not sure, that would be probably a medium to cold. If they come in and they tell me I've got a 1031, I'm going to say hot. Okay, so that'll help me kind of organize very quickly where I need to be allocating my time and energy into helping these clients, right? Because the reality is we're going to have many more people reach out to us than we're going to be able to service. So we have to have a way to in many ways filter through and figure out who's our biggest payoff.
Okay, now just to co-host this and get this ball rolling, because we want to keep you, the watcher, fully engaged.
Yeah.
Our marketing department has come in, input Kate Homey as a lead. Okay, she is fully input. Peter comes to work freshly caffeinated in the morning, sees this list of new people waiting for contact. He's going to call Kate first. So Peter calls Kate
Mhm.
and figures out what, after that conversation, you figure out, like, we're going to have 2 weeks to deploy this crap because I was slow to come to the concept. So let's just put this on an accelerated timeline.
Okay.
What are you going to do now, Peter?
Okay. With the initial conversation. Yeah. Okay.
After
So,
the conversation, we're going to change client status to hot.
yep.
Hot. Okay. And then we're going to put her down into the hunter.
Yep. Well, you don't have to touch that. You don't have to touch that. All you need to do is the next is going to be under sales status. I'm going to change that initial contact made, potentially follow up, and that will automatically pull it down into mine. But I'm going into that generator pool to look and see who needs to be kind of filtered, right? Once it comes down to the hunter pool, then I've got her along with my other clients that I've got to be maintaining some sort of, at least weekly contact, if not, daily, through either email or phone, to make sure that we're pushing the ball forward, so to speak. Okay. So with Kate now, okay, go ahead.
Nope. I was like, let's push that ball forward.
Okay. So, the first thing that I'm going to need to know, if Kate got 5 million in cash, I'm going to ask her a series of questions. I'm going to determine, let's say in this case, she doesn't have an LLC. She has nothing. Okay. So the next thing that I am going to do is I'm going to reach out and I'm going to start putting together her LLC docs. So I'll reach out to our contacts on the legal side that do not work for the company, but we work with, we have tight relationships with, and I will start helping her form the LLC. That is the very first thing that we have to do. There is nothing else that is more important than forming the LLC. And I can break that down.
Sign the management contract first.
No.
Okay.
No. And the reason why is because the management contract is something that we will do later. And I actually had this conversation with Nan. I won't bring it into this, but there is probably another document that we need to put into place up front. But right now, as we see it, it is the operating agreement that houses that requirement to use our services and that sort of thing with the management side. Okay. So the first thing that I've got to do is I've got to form this in one of the states. All right. So we're going to find the articles and we're going to file the LLC. And I do this through Michael Mills. I reach out to him and he helps us out with this. The next thing he's going to do is give us kind of a boilerplate operating agreement. And this is one that he's familiar with that fits with our requirements as an organization to work with this investor. Okay, just a little bit of backstory on this. If someone's bringing this to us and they're going to get the portfolio service, which is what we can also kind of call the white glove, we've got to get all these documents into place, and we will take an equity stake in that investment portfolio of homes in that property. So we take a small equity stake. That boilerplate will reflect all of that verbiage and has everything in place that we need. It's pretty much standard at this point. Okay, so we'll get the article, we'll get it formed generally in Delaware, LLC. We will get the boilerplate. We will get endorsement by both Kate Hami and the other partner would be Joe Riley. Okay. So once those documents, once that document is signed, then I have the ability to go get the most important number is the EIN. And I will go online and I will file directly with the IRS website using the articles and the fact that we've got an operating agreement. I will get an EIN. And those are the 3 key documents that we'll need to get this going.
Well, I'm just tracking operating agreement and EIN. What was the third one?
And the articles of formation. Okay. So the actual LLC. So you have to be formed in one of, a state. Our standard is that anyone that we're working with, we go to Delaware because that gives us a lot more flexibility in the future. we've tried to, and this is probably a good place to say, for those of you that'll be involved in this, it needs to be to our standard. If someone wants to work with us, this is how we do business. It's very complex and complicated. And if we start changing it from the get-go, it's just going to slow things down and it's going to degrade our ability to service a client.
Okay.
So at least for the time being, I would say that, we have to stick to this is how we do business. Okay.
Okay, so you've gotten Kate those 3 documents. What's next? What do you change in Asana?
Okay, so after we've done that, I'm going to go back up. I'm going to start clicking off on, clients categorized. The client's been educated up front.
We need to sign the management agreement now. So these pieces need to probably be input up here.
Right.
So, spoiler alert, we'll update that.
Yep. We do need to update that one. I think it would probably follow, but the next one in there is that signed consulting agreement. Okay. So this is a document. They've got,
Let's just say I've signed the management agreement now.
Yep. And the next thing I'm going to make sure that we present to you is this is how we get your home into the network. And that's where I'll have the discussion on, we will charge you a 1% acquisition fee. We have a 15% oversight fee. It essentially lays out all the fees that are associated with bringing a property into the network. Okay. So once I have that all explained to them and they're happy with it, it's a 1-page document, they'll hack off on that. And then I will be done with getting the signed consulting agreement.
Okay, so we've done that. And now what is the hunter's last step in this process?
I am going to make sure that I put everything together into a single document that's hung on a shared drive in our sales folder.
And where does that go?
Okay, so if you go into sales, it's under your, I think it is under your development acquisition. Type in sales folder right there, bang. Open that up. And inside
this one?
Yep, go ahead and open that up. And then if you go into manage clients and then current. And now I need to set a folder up for you. Okay. So the naming convention is last name, first initial, and then if you had a property, we would put that in there. You don't, so we can just hit create. Okay. And this is where everything that has to do with any business that you're doing with the organization will be stored here. I think
we're going to copy this link.
Yep.
We're going to come back and we're going to add.
Right. Client folder. Yeah. Or the link. Right. Usually I just embed it into the actual name. So you just hover over it and you click on it, but that's fine as well.
I think it's important to make it its own line item too, just to make it
clear that it's there.
Everybody else in the project on the line.
Yeah.
We have done that now. The client has signed their deal. So we start adding them to add to project.
Right.
And add to acquisitions, the pipeline in their investor threshold or onboarding status. Okay. And then what else do we do, Peter?
From this point, I am cross-talking with the acquisition Kelly to ensure she understands number one, that this information has been populated, that it's out there. It may show up on her Asana, but I just want to make sure that we flag it for her as it is something new and she may not see it as quickly as possible. So I would crosstalk with her to make sure she's got it. At that point, it's really just a matter of making sure that she understands what the client's desires are, what we call their buy box. So the next thing that I would look to do is coordinate, and this is something we've developed over time and probably does need to be codified in here, but we would schedule an initial meeting between the investor and our acquisition director, Kelly Colley.
Now, what you guys just saw me do on here was change this from, we kind of went through all of these follow-up needed. I didn't need follow-up because I was ready to go. Peter qualified me on that first phone call, knew that I was cool. And then the contract sent, waiting for signatures, I signed, and then like LLC is formed. All of that is formed. What we do need to go in and add also is $1,000 is taken from Kate for the deposit. Dollar deposit sent. And this is so that we don't waste our time, acquisitions specifically. And then we also have to get our bank, our money over to Capstar. So can you, where does that come into this process?
Yep. So let me back up just a little bit before I go into Capstar. The $1,000 deposit, generally what we've been doing is that's with our smaller investors, because they'll come on board and we'll spend a lot of time trying to find them one property and it never happens. So that deposit, and that also brings up, I do get them enrolled in bill.com. So that's probably something that needs to be added in here.
For the Kate Hami
for you, I would not need that. We do not need a retainer for that, but you are correct. I do need to set up what's called the operating account. And again,
for the audience. So sorry, Peter, I know,
no,
I'm trying to clarify for the audience. The deposit and bill.com is for not portfolio investors, but for retail investors. So people with less than 1.5. So that it's not going in here and we're getting back on track. Where does the money come from? Because once Peter hands over to Kelly acquisitions, there needs to be money for the EMD deployment and everything. So where does that money come from? Well, Peter's about to go into that.
Yep. Mark, are you hanging with us so far? Is there any questions or things that you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about?
I'm good so far.
Okay.
You guys are doing great.
Napoleon's private. Okay, great. So we do need to set up what's called an operating account. We do that through Capstar. That is the standard right now. We do not want to offer to, hey, you set up an account wherever you want, give us access. We need to do it at Capstar. And there's many reasons why. I won't go into those right now. Okay, so I will reach out to my contact at Capstar, which is Logan Young, or I will work with one of his people to set up an account. All I need to do is grab all of those LLC documents. They will send me a secure website or place where I can upload those, and then they get sent over, and then they will set up the account. Again, they need the EIN, they need the operating agreement, and they will need the articles of formation. I think it's also too worth noting that they, it may be good to get, even though you've just formed it, to periodically send over what is called a good standing report. And that is done by Nan Jean in our organization. Don't want to get too confused on that, but those are basically the 4 documents that you would need to send over to Capstar, and then they will set the account up. The other thing that they're going to ask for is, who do you want to have access? It's typically going to be our standard that we always use. It will not change. And it's essentially 4 people. Okay, that's going to be Joe Riley, Kate Hami, Kelly Colley, and then Luke Brennan. Okay, and those are the 4 people that can go in there and allocate funds out of that operating account. Okay, now once you get the account stood up, you'll be given wiring instructions and information to send over to the client. In this case, I'd have to send it over to Kate Hami and say, this is the location where you can make your deposits. Okay, and that's where she would make the deposit of the cash, the equity that she's bringing in for us to allocate.
And just to insert right here, we also need to tag Joe Riley, who is our Capstar account holder admin. Joe, give Kate, Kelly, acquisitions team capability to deploy wires. So we'll come in and say at Joe. Edit your Capstar account to allow for wires to be sent from Homey Homes LLC to title.
Actually, I do like that. You might have to do that. Homey Homes, Homey Homes.
And then send. I'm gonna tell Joe this is a training exercise. Don't do anything.
Training only.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also too, just again, this is those documents that you get back from Capstar. Again, anything to do with this client, you're going to put back into the that document that we just created. Okay. I would also say that if you're the person doing this, you know, you can go into another document and kind of peruse through there, and you know, the naming convention will describe what that document is. And so by going into another document that we've already set up or folder, you can also see potentially the documents that you need to collect up and make sure are in there. And it is a bit to keep up with, but you do need to make sure that everything that you're sent from Capstar gets, you know, drag and drop into that folder. Yeah, that folder. Boom. And that's the other thing too. You know, people are always, oh, I can't find this. I can't find this. Well, Kate, if you go up to the search bar and type in, you know, one of our, let's do the crowded house, right?
Nope, I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube for identifying person.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, you can
All
use
you
that
have
search.
to do is Google Homey Homes and
Right.
it pops up.
Right. And then you go down and you'll be able to look in the description and find that folder, and boom, it takes you right there.
But for a general rule of thumb, all client folders are going to be in this
Correct.
exact location.
Correct.
So,
but any information that you need in the future, the desire is that it's all housed right here and that you can at least link to it from this platform, right? So again, I go back to the more people using this, the better off it, you know, we'll all be, right? Okay.
Okay, now we're going to change in the pipeline, and we're going to schedule that onboarding meeting with acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that is where we will pause right now until acquisitions finds them a house.
Right.
Okay. And that'll be, you know, video 2 of this series, and then we'll come back with video 3 for what happens next.
Yeah, I think there may be a couple of other little comments, TTPs, you want me to throw in here. You know, one of the things that you've got to make sure that, you know, when you're talking to a managed client for the first time, you know, you definitely do not want to go off of script. If you have any questions, you've got to make sure that you record that and then get back to, you know,
yeah, no, point taken. Let's keep this solely for Asana onboarding.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Napoleon's Private, do you have any questions?
You got to have at least one question.
We've got 2 thumbs up from him, who's here with us today and able to ask any questions. So if you, the viewer, have any questions.
So is anyone notified when you make these changes to the onboarding or the sales status? Like when they say acquisitions finds them a house, will I be notified or?
Yes, and that is going to, everybody can manage their own Asana preferences within their Asana account. So for me, I have all of my notifications turned off and everything is funneled through Slack, right? So every time somebody comments on something that I am tagged in, it gets I get a Slack notification, which is also turned off. But it just reads as like a newspaper, you know, as I go through it. But that's how I digest that information, because personally, since I have created everything on this platform, everything gets linked back to me. If I were a person in charge of one portion of this pipeline, you could come in here and make yourself a collaborator on this very thing. So like Peter is a collaborator. You'll notice I added Joe to the conversation. So he's a collaborator on this and will get notified every time something comments. He can also come in and remove himself. Okay. And we can adjust that. If you want to be notified on something, you would come in here to the workflow, edit this, and then add yourself as a collaborator right here. Okay, and then every single new client, boom, you would get a notification, and however you receive your notifications is how you receive it. Now, that's a snippet. That is going to be in my Asana best practices video forthcoming.
And maybe just real quick, if you jump over to the inbox, you click
Oh.
on the inbox. That is generally how I go and find out what are the latest updates, what messages have I been sent, or the things that I'm tracking. It's all right there. And I do like using the thumbs up feature. It's if you haven't read it, I use that to track which ones I've kind of went through, so I can scan through really quick and make sure that I've read all of the last ones.
That is a good practice, Peter. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a really good point. The thumbs up. The thumbs up, and this is worth saying, and I should have said it, and I'm going to say it in every subsequent Asana video, is an acknowledgement that you have seen it, right? Because so many times people will say, I put it in Asana.
Right.
They didn't see it. And how can I make sure that you saw it, right? Because like we're looking out for each other's backs over here. I'm not just going to throw something in and, you know, not tag you. Like when I want people to notice, I at them, right? But what I would like to start seeing from people is the thumbs up. That is an acknowledgement, right? Because if people are getting tagged and they're not even seeing it, then that needs to be a one-on-one conversation with that person. Like, hey, you're not logging into this platform to see the actual items that you have to do. You need to start doing that, right? And that thumbs up is an acknowledgement, like, hey, I'm in here, I see this, I know that I have to do this. So, and until things run perfectly and smoothly, I think we should all do this.
Yep.
So.
And keep marketing it. Keep marketing it to everybody. When you're using it, keep pressing everyone to use it.
Perfect. All right, you guys. It turns out we went through this whole thing and I forgot to press the record button.
No, you did not.
I'm just kidding.
You got me. Got the old guy.
All right, thanks for coming, Peter.
All right.